Hey, what's up guys, it's Marquez from the MKBHD channel, back with a quick review, a video review for you guys of a relatively new device from Motorola and Sprint and Nextel. We are looking here at the Motorola Titanium. Now the Titanium is known for two things, the first of which is that it is a push-to-talk walkie-talkie enabled phone thanks to Nextel, so you'll notice a couple of extra hardware features here, especially that button. And number two, it's a pretty rugged phone. It's built nicely, you can see the nice sealing of the camera in here. All of the ports are covered, including the USB port, and we'll get into that in a second. But those are the two main features you should know right off the bat when you're considering the Titanium. So let's go ahead and take a look at the outside features. You of course have your screen here. I believe this is a 3.5-inch screen, and you have your QWERTY keyboard down here at the bottom. It's kind of reminiscent of the Droid Pro, if you've ever seen the Droid Pro on Verizon Wireless. You'll notice there's a little bit of redundancy of buttons. As you guys know, Android wasn't really built for hardware buttons. It wasn't actually built for push-to-talk walkie-talkie features like this phone is advertised for. So anyway, you can see the speaker grill down here on the bottom. You have your call, your power N button. This is a power N button, not the one up here at the top. And you have your menu, home, and back. Over here is the push-to-talk walkie-talkie button, and I just turn the screen on here. Over at the top here you have your volume rocker. At the top of the phone you have both your volume lock and your screen lock, so you can turn the volume on mute just by tapping that one button. And you have your 3.5mm headphone jack, which is also covered. Notice all these ports are covered. Over on the right hand side you have your micro USB port and your camera button for your 5-megapixel photo camera on the back. It doesn't take HD video, but it is a pretty good camera and a decent sized battery in the back of the phone. So overall pretty average specs. It's not exactly what you'd call a super phone. Now, the redundancy of the hardware buttons is that this top button up here only turns the screen on and off. So I can turn the screen on and off with it, but if I try to hold it down, I can't turn the phone off with this button. I can only turn the phone off or on using this power button right here and holding it. That's pretty interesting. And you can also use this, of course, to end apps and to end calls. So what you're looking at is the older version of Moto Blur that this device is running, built, of course, for the smaller screen. And it does work pretty nicely. Now, if you've ever used something like the Droid Pro, you know that this is targeted mostly at more business users, people who actually take advantage of the walkie-talkie function. And that is what Sprint is going to allow you to do here while cooperating with Nextel. And as we go ahead and take a look at the apps already on the phone here, these are some apps that I already use, but nothing on this phone doesn't come on the phone. So everything you see here is actually out of the box, pre-installed in the phone. So let's take a look at that. We'll go home and open up the drawer. You see there's a little bit of bloatware. You have a little bit of Sprint stuff. You have, of course, a NASCAR application. Obviously that doesn't come with Android. Sprint Zone, and a little GPS navigator. So just a little bit of bloatware. It's not crazy out of control like maybe the Droid 3 would have been considered, but there is some noticeable bloatware. Otherwise, if you take a look at the spec list, the spec sheet and the article about this video review, you notice, I mean, it's got average specs. This isn't the most fluid experience of Android. You can see pulling down the notification bar, opening up Gmail, going back home, holding down home to open the most recent apps. You can see that it isn't exactly the fastest phone out there on the market. But then again, when you're buying a phone like this, you don't really care about, having the fastest phone out there. So you'll notice that when opening heavier applications, like say a Weather Channel application, of course this is showing you the browser, but something like the Weather Channel app or AccuWeather, or really data-intensive app, isn't going to work very nicely on this phone. I'll be perfectly honest. I didn't really enjoy using the Weather Channel app on this phone. Let's try to go to a website here and go to google.com. I do like the keyboard, the hard keyboard on this device. It's been a pleasure to use. I'm not really a big hardware keyboard guy anymore now that I really like the Samsung Galaxy S2, but it's worth noting that this does have a pretty decent keyboard. If you do want to go to check it out in the store, you can type on it in the store. It doesn't really seem to want to load this page right now, but again, hardware keyboards is a thing that you might want to check out in the store first. Now, of course, Moto Blur does rotate sideways, and a thing I noticed is that when you go to a text field that does rotate sideways, you can actually use it in horizontal mode, and it has a software keyboard. Let's go ahead and check that out real quick. When you hold down on the URL, you have a choice of input methods. You can use the swipe keyboard that comes pre-installed on a lot of new Motorola devices these days, or just the standard Android keyboard. So I'll go ahead and go back and load the Android keyboard. And there it is. So you can see it's a little bit slow, but it does work nevertheless. Of course, I'm not a very good typist behind the camera, but like I said, larger sites aren't going to be very fun. You're probably not going to do a lot of web browsing on a phone like this. You're going to be using it mostly for calling and walkie-talkie, and that is really what this phone does well. It had great call quality, very good call quality, pretty good speakerphone quality, though people are probably going to be using it facing the front of you, which is why there is no speaker on the back, only on the front of this device. So that makes sense. But overall, this is a pretty solid device for those of you looking for, you know, a rugged, relatively lightweight, and well-built Motorola phone. Motorola does a good job with the build quality. This is a sort of a soft touch back, but on the inside, behind the battery, it is metal, of course. And speaking of the battery life on this phone it's alright. You know, it's about the same as the Droid 3. It'll get you through a day. I'll put it that way. And a light user can make it last much more than a day, but this gets through about a day of use. So that's basically our look at the Motorola Titanium. If you have any questions, feel free to leave that in the comment section below, as we do like to get back to all of you guys in the comments. Either way, this has been MKBHD. Thanks for watching the review of the Motorola Titanium for DroidDog, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.